All right, Shabbosai. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Let us begin. First of all, what a schus it is to be able to begin the new Masechta together. And it's also beautiful to welcome back some of the Chevra, to welcome back Rabbi Lerner, and to thank you walked in this morning and you smelled the wafting scent of coffee coming in. Mamish, you thought it was Gan Eden. It was just the shul kitchen. It's incredible. People make that, people get that confused all the time. So Ari, thank you again for the avoda of bringing back the coffee. Meretz Hashem, really, it's nice. It's even nice to see people socializing in the kitchen, which is, by the way, I have a direct line of vision. So I just want to, so it's mamish incredibly beautiful to see. Welcome back, Ari. Also, nice to see a number of new faces who are Baruch Hashem here joining us. I see Rabbi Zalish in the back. I think I saw Brian Newman sneaking over there in the corner. If I did, I think, and also wonderful. So make sure to give a very special welcome to all the new Chaverim who come, and it's really beautiful, Baruch Hashem, to continue this journey together. So begin by thanking our sponsors, to thank our Talmud Torah sponsors for the month of Nisan, Czinn Teri Kahn for dedicating all of the shiurim and drashos this month in honor of the birth of their son Adin Tzvi Hochbaum, to thank Benjamin and Elys Wohl of Eretz Yisrael for dedicating all of the shiurim and drashos this month in honor of all those who make the shiurim available to those outside of our Beis Midrash, specifically Moishe Abramson and Jeremy Lasson, to thank Shimmy Batsheva Messing for dedicating the shiurim and drashos this month in honor of the Bas Mitzva of their daughter Lilah, to thank Paul and Kathy Pollack for dedicating the shiurim and drashos this month in memory of Paul's parents, Shmuel ben Zechariah, his mother Leah Bas Avrohom, and great-grandmother Tziril Bas Rav Dov. And our Daf Yomi sponsors for today, the Plunka family, in commemoration of the yahrzeit of Miriam Hanaviah. His yahrzeit is today incredible. Miriam Bas Amram. We hope that in the merit of Miriam Hanaviah, Meretz Hashem, we should all be gebenched. All right, Tabossi, with that, let us begin. So we begin the journey right now in Maseches Shekalim, a very beautiful and incredible and exciting journey. Maseches Shekalim, of course, as you know, is part of the Daf Yomi cycle. However, it is actually part of Talmud Yerushalmi. So as a result of that, we will see, those of you who have been through Daf Yomi before already are familiar with Shekalim, but again, you'll see that the Gemara is structured a little bit differently. First of all, the verbiage the Gemara uses is a bit different. Again, most of it is the same, but it's a bit different. You'll also notice the dapim are a bit longer, a bit more packed, and instead of Mishnayos, the way the Yerushalmi is set up is it has halachas. But halachas are effectively the same thing, right? What the halacha is to the Yerushalmi, the Mishnah is to the Bavli. What you will also notice, and for us, the Lomdei Hadav, perhaps the most glaring difference is no Rashi and Tosas, which is very interesting. So we'll find a number of different Mefarshim. We're going to primarily use the parish of the Tiklin Chadatin, so which kind of functions like Rashi in this particular Masechta, but Emir Hashem will jump around a little bit over the course. So we'll say, so just familiarize yourself a little bit with the Tzuras Hadaf, the Tiklin Chadatin, which is what we're going to be referring to most. On Amud Aleph is on, I'm assuming we all have the same basic Tzuras Hadaf, is on the bottom right, as the Tiklin Chadatin. On Amud Beis is going to be the Perish on the left. Every once in a while we'll make a reference ultimately as well to the Karban Ha'eda. So again, just to orient you on the page, Tiklin Chadatin, Karban Ha'eda are always on opposite sides of the page. So again, we'll get the hang of this Emir Hashem together, and we are in for an incredibly beautiful and magnificent journey. So we'll see with that. Shechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh ashreinu matov chalkeinu umano im garaleinu umayafayiru shasenu. How privileged we are to learn the Ribono Shel Olam's Torah each and every day. All right, so with that, let us begin. Be'echad be'adar mashmin al Shekalim. On the first of Adar, Beis Din makes the announcement regarding the Machzis HaShekel. So we'll say we're going to, as the name of the Masechta says, we're going to speak a lot about the halachos concerning Machzis HaShekel, as well as uses for the half shekel. Remember again, we are most used to the Machzis HaShekel in the biblical context, which was primarily used for census purposes. Although that's not totally true either. Even the Machzis HaShekel collected in the desert was ultimately used for communal sacrificial funds. And we're going to see there are actually different types of half shekel collections. We'll go through all of this. In any event, the Mishnah says, on the first of Adar, Beis Din announces that it is time to go ahead and bring your machzis hashekel. What else do they announce about? Va'ala kloim. They also announce regarding kloim. Now, I'll say, take a look at the tiklin chadatin for just a moment. Ala kloim. Shi'akra kloim ad shelo yishaya rov ala beisa. Also, remember again, kloim are forbidden mixtures, right? You're not allowed to plant certain things within a proximity to each other, right? The paradigmatic example of this are vines and wheat. Vines and wheat cannot be planted within close proximity to each other. And halacha lamaisa, if kilayim begins to grow, you must uproot it. So on the first of Adar, the Mishnah says that this was the beginning when the vegetation would begin to sprout. So Beis Din would say, by the way, look in your gardens, look in your fields. Do you see any kilayim? And if you see any kilayim, then please go ahead and uproot it. Next. And on the 15th of Adar, Korones HaMegillah, we read the Megillah, B'krachim, in the walled cities. So we'll say this is incredible. It's also incredible because this Mishnah gives you like a little bit of a window into Mishnaic life or Talmudic life, giving you a little bit of like how things operate. So we'll say, what else would they do on the 15th of Adar? So 15th of Adar, of course, is Purim for walled cities. For walled cities. 14th of Adar is Purim for unwalled cities. 15th walled cities. What else do they do on the 15th of Adar? They would go out u'metaknin es hadrachim ve'es harachovos ve'es mikvos hamayim. They would begin to repair the pathways, the roads, and the mikvos. Now, what's the pshat over here? Take a look at the Rashbam for just a moment again. Rashbam says, this is incredible. So we'll say, so what happens? Remember, again, there's a rainy season. What happens to the roads over the course of the rainy season? The mikvos over the course of the rainy season. Things fall into a state of disrepair. So therefore, again, 15th of Adar, already again, we're getting close to spring. The majority of the rainy season, overall majority of the rainy, remember, we'll say, the majority of the rainy season is already over in Eretz Yisrael by Tu B'Shvat. So certainly a month later now by Tu B'Adar, 15th of Adar, so the majority of the rainy season is behind us, and we can go ahead and now focus on repairing public infrastructure to go ahead and make sure that everything is fit for you. So back to the Rashbam, back to the Tiklin Chadatin for just a moment. Taknin Sadrachim, Sheskalkul Mosag Yishamim, Umetaknin Osan, Bishvil Ole Regalim. Inami Bishvil Hagolim La Are Miklot Kidichsiv Tachin L'Chadrak. So we'll say this is fascinating. Why are we going ahead and fixing the roads? So the Tiklin Chadatin, so we'll say, I want to tell you, I think that there's an incredible musar here. So Tiklin Chadatin says, why are we fixing the roads? Either again for the Olei Regalim, because remember again, this is a month before Pesach. So you're going to have an incredible volume of pedestrian traffic coming during Pesach. So you want to make sure that the roads are fit for use. Also, in addition to that, are miklat, cities of refuge. You need to make sure that the roads are usable for those who are trying to flee to the miklat. I will say, interestingly enough, you ask yourself, why does the Tiklin Chadatin have to comment on this? Right? Think about this. Why are we fixing the roads? I will say, why are you fixing the roads? What would you say? Why are you fixing the roads? Because you fix the roads. What's the shayla? We'll say an incredible musar. An incredible musar is everything you do in life has to have a purpose. And you have to be able to articulate why you do the things that you do. And if I can't articulate a purpose and a reason for why I do something, then chances are I should not do it. This is how the Jew lives. It's a targeted existence. There's no such thing as just doing stuff for the sake of doing stuff. There's no such thing as doing things because, hey, that's what I do. If I do something, I have to be able to articulate the specific reason as to why I do it. That's what it means to lead and to live a purposeful life. So, Tiklin Chadatin Mishnah says, we fix the roads. Why? Why? There's no mitzvah to fix roads. So, I fix roads because ultimately if I fix roads, I enable other people to go ahead and actualize their potential or actualize their purpose, either for the Olei Regalim or Rahman al-Tzlan for those who have to flee to the Ir Miklat. But everything in life that I do has to have a reason, and if it doesn't have a clearly defined and constructive reason, then perhaps it's kidai not to do it. So the Mishnah goes weiter. So and we go ahead and we take care of all of the public needs. So we'll see exactly what that comes to include. This is fascinating. What else do? We go ahead and we mark off the graves. So we'll say, what's the pshat over here? Take a look at this Tiklin Chadatin. Besid, we put plaster over the graves. Plaster over the graves. So we'll say, you know where you can see this a lot? if you go to the old cemetery in Tzfas, you could find that many of the graves are painted blue. So the truth is, that's in Tzfas, again, that's a whole Kabbalistic piece. That's Gemara Maseches Menachos. That Tcheles dome leyam, yam dome lerakia, rakia dome lekisi hakavod. Right? That's the symbolic nature of blue. Historically, they used to paint graves white. White. And why? Again, just to simply highlight the fact that this is a grave, so that the Kohanim should go ahead and be careful. So the Tziril Chadatin points out that over the rainy season, he writes, that Rashi Tevos, by the way, the Shin Beis Yud Hey Gimel, took me a lot of time yesterday. But Lefi Shebiyamos Hagishamim. That's the Rashi Tevos. Haya Hasid Nimuach. Because we'll say over the course of the rainy season, Bavli doesn't have Rashi Tevos like that, by the way. Bavli spells out things much more simply. In any event, so because over the course of the rainy season, the plaster that they used to put on top of the grave would erode. So they would replaster. They would put it on the graves again, so that the Kohanim should know where to avoid. Beautiful, I will say. That's the end of the Mishnah, end of the halacha. So says the Gemara, "V'lama be'echad ba'adar." So we'll say let's dissect the Mishnah piece by piece. So first thing in the Mishnah was, we announce about bringing the machzis hashekel, the half shekel, on the first of Adar. Why in the first of Adar? V'lama be'echad ba'adar. Because Rabbi say, again, remember, we want the people to bring their shekel on time. Vititorim chumas halishka min achadasha bizmana becha b'Nisan. So we'll say, let's talk a little bit about this in just a moment. So remember, the point of the machzis hashekel was to go ahead and bring karbanos. That was, again, yes, there's always a census purpose in it, but lamaisa, again, from a societal perspective, the machzis hashekel were the funds that were used to purchase karbanos tzibur, communal sacrifices. We're going to see now that halacha lamaisa, the communal sacrificial fund, had to be replenished every Nisan. That Nisan was like the cutoff day. That was the new year for sacrificial funds. So come the first of Nisan, you needed to bring communal karbanos from the quote-unquote new fund. So what they would do, says the Gemara, is they would announce about the machzis hashekel on the first of Adar, with the goal of giving everyone a month to get in their donation. So that comes the first of Nisan, the communal carbon fund is replenished, and we could bring carbonos from the new monies. The Gemara says, Umar Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yitzchak, Chumas halishka titchilasa. We'll say Mar means Amar. And Rabbi Shmuel bar Yitzchak said, Chumas halishka, the annual collection for the machzis hashekel, for the communal carbon fund, kitchilasa, was just like the original collection of the machzis hashekel. And what does it say by the original collection? Dichsiv vayhi b'chodesh harishon b'shana hashenis be'echad l'chodesh hukam hamishkan. And again, the pasuk says, if you look at the Tiklin Chadatin for just a moment, kit bitchilasa, in the wide lines of the Tiklin Chadatin, it's about 2, 4, 5 lines in. So we'll say, just like the first collection in the desert was done on the first of Nisan, so too again, the annual collection is done on the first of Nisan as well. Now the truth is, what we really do is as follows: we want the money in by the first of Nisan. So because we want the money in, we want the fund fully replenished by the first of Nisan. Therefore, we go ahead and we do the collection on the first of Adar. V'tani Allah, we said about this. V'yom shehokam ha-mishkan bo b'yom nitruma truma. And both say, on the day that the Mishkan was erected, remember the Mishkan was erected on the first of Nisan. Both say, that's why, again, remember, these days we don't say Tachnun. It's interesting. No one ever asks why we don't say Tachnun. It's fascinating. I get many shilas. Never. I can't believe we didn't say Tachnun today. And so everything has to have mazel, including tefillas. For whatever the reason, Tachnun just didn't have the mazel. They'll say, so interesting. So remember, why don't we say Tachnun on these days? Because remember, I will say these 12 days from Rosh Chodesh Nisan until the beginning of Pesach were the days on which the Nesiim offered up their inauguration karbanos. Right? That's why the minhag on these days of Nisan is to recite the Nasi of the day. So we'll say, so again, remember, so the Mishkan was erected on the 1st of Nisan. In the desert, the day that the Mishkan was erected was also the day they did the collection for the Machzas HaShekel. So again, we adopt the symbolism that, or not more than symbolism, we adopt the halacha that the new Machzas HaShekel, the communal carbonic fund must be replenished with new funds by the 1st of Nisan. But again, we make the announcement on the 1st of Adar to give people a month to get their donation in. So the Gemara says, "V'tani Allah b'yom shukah mishkan b'yom nishrat shuma." On the day the Mishkan was erected, that was the same day that people gave their machzas hashekel. Rabbi Tevi, Rabbi Yoshe b'shem Kahana, ne'emar kan chodshei, v'ne'emar lahalon chodshei. So we'll say, interestingly enough, so they say in the name of Rav Kahana as follows. It says over here, Chodshei. Now the passage that they're referring to is, V'niskem chatziyen yila, parash shisayin la'ayol, or v'isen la'keves, ziyayin zos olas chodesh b'chodsho, l'chodshei hashana. So it says chodshei hashana by communal offerings. V'ne'emar lahalon, chodshei hashana. And I will say, then it says also later on is reference to a chodesh hazel lochem, rosh chadoshim, Rishon Chadashim, Rishon Hu Lachem L'Chodshei Hashana. So it says Chodshei by Karbanos, communal sacrifices, and it says Chodshei by Chodesh Nisan. So the Gemara says, Ma Chodshei Shneimar Lahalon Ein Monin Elami Nisan. Just like from a calendrical perspective, or at least from some level of a calendrical perspective, we count the year from Nisan. So to Av Chodshei Shneimar Kan, so to by Karbanos, Ein monin ela min Nisan. We also only count from Nisan, which Rabbi Silber means only count from Nisan, means the clock or the year, the calendrical year for Karbanos begins from Nisan. We'll say, what does that mean on a practical level? It's a financial halacha. That essentially what we do is the carbonic finances of the Beis HaMikdash are on a Nisan to Nisan year. And as we're going to see again, we only want communal sacrifices coming from money collected for that year. In fact, we're going to spend a significant amount of time discussing the interesting issue that comes up of what happens if you don't use up. Let's see, for example, now again, it's Nisan 5781. So in the times of the Beis HaMikdash, Hashem B'Karav, we will see this again soon. We would go and come Aleph Nisan 5781. We would only bring karbanos now from newly collected money, not from anything before Nisan 5781. We're going to spend a significant amount of time discussing what you do with leftover money. Right? Halavai, the Beis HaMikdash should have that problem. There's leftover money from prior to Nisan, first Nisan 57. What do you do with that? So B'Pashas are going to see you don't bring karbanos with that, because karbanos only come from newly collected money. Amr Rav Yonah, Shavak Rab Tavi Rasha Demasni. So Amr Sofa. Ultimately, again, so comes along Rabbi Yonah. So comes along Rabbi Yonah, and he says, Reb Tevi forgot the beginning of the brayso and only said the end. Delo kein kahadatani zos olas chodesh bechodsho. The pasuk says, this is the ola of the month in its particular month. Yachol yehei torim bechol chodesh v'chodesh. So you will say from the phrase of chodesh bechodsho, I might have thought that maybe we just go ahead and collect money per month. Right? We go ahead and we collect enough sacrificial money for each month. How much do you need to run a month, to run a sacrificial month for the Beis HaMikdash? And whatever that is, that's what we collect. To which the Gemara says, Talmud Lomar, B'chodsho l'chodshei hashana. Therefore the pasuk says, B'chodsho, in the month, for the months of the year. What does that teach me? B'chodesh echad torim l'chol chodshei hashana. Ultimately, again, in 1 month, we collect for all of the months of the year. So you will say, you might have thought, again, on a logical level, maybe the Beis HaMikdash does a separate fundraising drive each and every month, right? Every month we have a campaign to raise the money for the karbanos of that month. To which the Gemara says, no, we raise all of the money in 1 month of the year. Now, of course, the shaila is what? Which month? So the Gemara says, Yachol be'ezeh chodesh yirtzeh. You might have thought you could raise the money whatever month you want, whatever you choose. To which the Gemara says, Ne'emar kan chodshei, v'ne'emar lahalon chodshei. So therefore, we'll say the Gemara says, it says over here by karbanos chodshei, it says by Nisan, by Rosh Chodesh Nisan chodshei, ma chodshei shne'emar lahalon ein monin ela min Nisan. Just like ultimately again, when HaChodesh HaZalochem was talking about Nisan, av chodshei shne'emar kan, so to chodshei by karbanos, ein monin ela min Nisan. We also only go ahead and collect from the month of Nisan. So therefore, we'll say what comes out from the Gemara so far is an incredible yisod. Number one, the Mishnah said, we announce that people should bring their machzes hashekel on the 1st of Adar. What is the machzes hashekel being used for? Or at least as of now, it's being used for karbanos tzibor. Being used for karbanos tzibor. We'll say, so why and why? Because I need to get in new money come 1st of Nisan. 1st of Nisan is the end of the financial year, at least for karbanos. Only bring karbanos from newly acquired or newly donated funds. Where do I know that from? Both say to kind of consolidate this, Chadshe. It's Gzera Shava. It says Chadshe by karbanos. It says Chadshe by Nisan. I might have thought that maybe I go ahead and I raise the money month by month. Kamash Malan, that we raise all of the money once a year. Incredible. So Ma'amashmin, so both say, what does it mean? When the Mishnah says, Be'echad ba'adar mashmiyin ala shkalim. What does that word mean? So Rav Huna Amar Machrizin. Rav Huna says it means we announce. Because Rav say, interestingly enough, mashmiyin isn't interesting. Mashmiyin means, literally, how would you translate that? You make something heard. Right? You make something, which is just a strange word. So the Gemara says, by the way, just what does that mean? So Rav Huna says, Machrizin. It means ultimately, again, we announce. We announce. So the Gemara says, Amar Machrizin, Heich madat Amar vayitnu kol bihuda b'Yerushalayim. So the Gemara says, because the Gemara here quotes the pasuk from Divrei Hayamim. The rest of the pasuk is, they made an announcement in Yehuda and Yerushalayim, Lahavi laHashem masas Moishe eved Elokim al Yisrael midbar. So the Gemara here is recording a pasuk in Divrei Hayamim, where they made an announcement to bring the machzes hashekel, and interestingly enough, what they essentially announced it as was the Moshe Rabbeinu tax. Right? So interestingly enough, what was the Moshe Rabbeinu tax? It was to bring a machzes hashekel. We'll say what the Gemara is doing over here is something very interesting. So you would have thought when the Gemara says, "What does a word mean?" Right from Bavli, we know the styles of the Gemara. So generally, you have a word, you don't know what it means. So the Gemara says, "Okay, what does it mean?" The Gemara gives a definition. Then when the Gemara brings a pasuk, what does the pasuk usually do? It supports the definition. If you notice, that's not what's happening over here. Here the Gemara said there's a word, mashmiyan. What does mashmiyan mean? Machrizin, we announce. And then the Gemara quotes a pasuk that doesn't say machrizin or mashmiyan. What the point of the pasuk is just to show that historically, they would announce about the machzes hashekel, that the collection of the machzes hashekel was not left to people to remember on their own. There were public announcements that were made in order to go ahead and get people to bring their machzes hashekel. Good, that's it. So the Gemara says as follows. Taman taninan. So also listen to this. Now we have another teaching over here. So literally we have the following brisa. Ein ben adar rishon, or Mishnah. Ein ben adar rishon l'sheni, adar sheni. So both say in general, again, there is no distinction between adar rishon and adar sheni. Both say, now remember, we know that halacha l'maisa, the only month in which a leap year could occur is adar. Right? Because also remember, again, the only reason we ever make a leap year is why? Because remember, we have this incredible calendrical anomaly, that on one hand we have a lunar calendar, but yet Pesach is called Chag HaAviv, the spring, which is based on the right. The seasons are solar. So the problem is you could have a situation where Pesach falls out in the winter. So the only reason we would ever make an Iber year, the only reason you would ever make a leap year is to push Pesach forward. That's why the only month that is ever a leap month, an additional month, is only Adar. So therefore, the Gemara says over here, there's ein bein Adar Rishon la Adar Sheni. There is no difference between Adar Rishon and Adar Sheni. Elo mikra Megillah Matanos Levyonim. Except, again, I will say Megillah and Matanos Levyonim. Meaning what? That you only do Megillah and Matanos Levyonim. And also, when we say Megillah, by the way, Megillah means Megillah, Matanos Levyonim, Sudas, Purim, everything associated with Purim in Adar Sheni. Right? All of that happens in Adar Sheni. Otherwise, there is no distinction between Adar Rishon and Adar Sheni. Rabbi Simon b'Shem Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi Omer, O af shimua shkalim ukelayim beinehem. So we'll say, now watch this. Comes along Rabbi Simon, says in Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, there's another distinction between Adar Rishon and Adar Sheni, which is the announcements regarding shkalim and kilayim. So we'll say, if you look at the Tiklin Chadatin, what does that mean? Hashmos shkalim v'kilayim ben Arab. We'll say it's kind of right in the middle of the wide lines. She'eno noeg ela b'sheni dafka v'mishmir b'rishon chozul mashim b'sheni. Listen to this, we'll say. So comes along Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi and says that there's another distinction between Adar Rishon and Adar Sheni, which is the announcement regarding shkalim and kilayim. That halacha l'maisa, when do you do that? Adar Sheni. Adar Sheni. And in fact, the Tikkun Chadatin says to the point that if you did it in Adar Rishon, you'd have an obligation to go ahead and re-announce it again in Adar Sheni. So we'll say, now watch this. This is incredible. So Rabbi Silber, Rabbi Shimon, Levi, Amar Av Shimush Shekalim, Kalayim B'neiim. Rabbi Chelbo, Rav Huna Rav, B'Shem Rabbi Chia Rabba, Hakol Yotzin B'Yodalit Shuzman Kriyasa. So we'll say, here you have, we'll just go to the end, the name of Rabbi Chia Rabba, that everyone agrees that you are Yotze Mikra Megillah on the 14th of Adar, because the 14th of Adar is the primary time for Mikra Megillah. We'll see exactly what that means as well. Rabbi Yossi, V'yeyos. So we'll say, let's go back for just a moment, because what we are intrigued by is this statement of Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. Because what did Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi say? Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi said that halacha l'maisa, even though we said before the only distinction between Adar Rishon and Adar Sheni is Mikra Megillah Matanos Aviram, there's another important distinction. Namely what? The mashmiin ala shkalim ve'ala kilayim. That the announcement regarding maktzis hashakel and going out to your field to uproot kilayim is made dafka in Adar Sheni. Now we'll say, let's analyze this. This is incredible. Rabbi Yossi says, v'yeyos. The truth is, Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi is saying good. Yeyos means it's good. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, if you look at the Rashbam, he says, nachon. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi is saying good, that you make the announcement regarding the shkalim and kilayim on Adar Sheni. Why? Listen to this. This is incredible. I will say, this is such a profound Gemara. Klum amru mashmin ala shkalim lo kedei she'aviu Yisrael sheklein ba'onasan. We'll say, why do we make the announcement for shkalim a month before, right? Why do we, or it's more than a month, well, a month before. Why do we make it on Rosh Chodesh Adar? Because we want people to bring their machzes hashakel in time for Rosh Chodesh Nisan. So we'll say, get ready for this. This is so profound. Im'at Amar ba'adar harishon, ad kidon is bishda shisin yomin. So the Gemara says, listen to this, Rabbi saying, what's the problem? If you go ahead, so the whole point of making the announcements regarding the machzes hashakel on the 1st of Adar is to give people time to go ahead and bring their machzes hashakel in time for Rosh Chodesh Nisan. In a year where there's 2 Adars, if you were to go ahead and make the announcement regarding machzes hashakel on Adar Rishon, how much time would there be between the time you make the announcement and when they have to go out and contribute the money? 60 days. To which Rabbi Yossi says, too much time. Rabbi Yossi says, such a profound yesod. It's good to give a person a little bit of advance notice. But if you give people too much advance notice, what happens? The great enemy of man sets in, procrastination. You make an announcement 60 days ahead, no one's listening to anything. 60 days. Who could plan for 60 days from now, right? I can't plan for next. So Rose, it's an incredible yesod in life. How some amount of advance warning is good, but too much advance warning just leads to procrastination. Which I will say ultimately, again, is an incredible yesod in general in personal life planning as well. You know, it's so important to make for oneself personal goals. But there's always this tension, right? If you make, and even long-term planning is important as well. But sometimes when we get a little bit too involved with long-term planning, the Tziril with long-term planning is you procrastinate, right? I've got a 5-year plan. I always marvel at people who have a 5-year plan. I find it difficult enough to try to organize the day. Okay, but people could, which is good, and it's good to have a 5-year plan. But you have to be careful that you don't use long-range planning as an excuse for personalistic procrastination. Because sometimes when we plan too far ahead, that's the excuse for not having to. It's a 5-year plan. Good news with the 5-year plan is I don't have to do anything today. That's the best part of a long-term plan. So therefore the Gemara says something amazing. Rabbi Yossi says, Rabbi Shimon, you're absolutely correct. That when there's a leap year, there's no way that we're announcing the machzes hashakel on the 1st of Adar Rishon simply because it's too far ahead and people are going to procrastinate. So the Gemara goes weiter. The Gemara says, "Afala kilayim lo kidei she'etzmach nikarim." So we'll say same thing idea. We wouldn't announce about kilayim on the 1st of Adar Rishon either, because remember again, the whole point of that announcement on the 1st of Adar is that's when plant life, that's when the fields are beginning to regenerate. If it's Adar Rishon, that's still too early, right? You're not going to have the growth beginning to regenerate yet. Remember, the whole point of announcing about kilayim is we want people to go into their fields and we want them to go ahead and see what's growing. In a leap year, Adar Rishon is going to be too early. Therefore, again, you're going to make the announcement. People aren't going to see anything. They're going to forget all about it. So the Gemara goes right to the Gemara says, Omer at Adar Rishon ad kedon inam dekikin. Right, the growth is still too small, and the announcement will be for naught. Rabbi Chizkiya shal me'ata b'nei Bavel mashmin al hashkala meirosho shel choref. Shabbos says, so therefore again, what comes out of this interestingly enough is Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi Shita, that in a leap year, not only are we doing Mikra Megillah, Matanos Le'avyonim in Adar Sheni, not in Adar Rishon, but the announcement for the Shekalim and the Kilayim is also occurring in Adar Sheni, not in Adar Rishon. So therefore, Rabbi say, listen to this. Rabbi Chizkiya says, if that's the case, B'nei Bavel. So Rabbi say, remember again, Bepashtos, the Jews who lived in Bavel also had to contribute to the Machzas HaShekel. Rabbi say, but obviously, again, they would have to get their Shekalim to Eretz Yisrael. So Bepashtos, again, they should already begin to announce about the Machzas HaShekel in the beginning of the winter, Mirosh HaChoref, to which the Gemara says, Lo gedei shevi Yisrael shiklein ba'onasan v'ti tarim trumas halishka min hachadasha bismana be'echa b'Nisan. So we'll say ultimately again. So therefore, Bnei Bavel should have to go ahead and announce even earlier in order to get the shkalim in by the 1st of Nisan. Hesiv Rav Ula Kume Rabbi Mana v'hataninan b'shlosha prakim b'shana terminas halishka. So we'll say. Remember, the Gemara says as follows. So now we're operating with the idea, with the assumption, that all money must be in on the 1st of Nisan. Now, why is all money in on the 1st of Nisan? Because Bepashtos, what it sounds like is happening over here, is there will be one huge withdrawal on the 1st of Nisan. 1st of Nisan, you withdraw all of the money for the communal sacrifices for that year. So the Gemara says, but here's the problem. We seem to have a contradiction. What's the contradiction? They would actually go ahead and withdraw money from the temple treasury 3 times throughout the year. Number 1, Beprosa Pesach, 15 days before Pesach. Beprosa Atzeres, 15 days before Shavuos. Prosa Chag, 15 days before Sukkot. So we'll say, sounds like there's 3 withdrawals. Where if there's 3 withdrawals, then why does all of the money have to be in by the 1st of Nisan? Amarle Neymar Ilin Dekrivim Beprosa Pesach. So listen to this. So we'll say, maybe the way it went is like this. Maybe in fact, there are 3 different collections. Maybe it went like this. Ilin Dekrivim Beprosa Pesach. Those who lived close, in other words, we'll say, let's say for the Jews of Eretz Yisrael, perhaps their money, their Machzas HaShekel, had to be in by the 1st of Nisan. Ilin Derechokin, those who are a little bit further away, Beprosa Atzeres, they had to have their money in by 15 days before Shavuos. V'ilin Derechokin Minhon, and those who lived even further away, Beprosa Chag, 15 days before Sukkot. So we'll say, so maybe the Gemara is challenging the very assertion that the Mishnah is predicated on, right? The Mishnah is predicated on the idea everyone's money has got to be in by the 1st of Nisan. And there's one withdrawal. But we see it's not true. We see that they are withdrawing money. The Beis Midrash was drawing with money 3 times a year. 15 days before Pesach, 15 days before Shavuos, 15 days before Sukkot. So maybe, just like there's 3 withdrawals, maybe there are also what? 3 collection dates. Right? 3 collection dates for the Jews of Eretz Yisrael, 15, or the Jews close by to Yerushalayim, 15 days before Pesach. The Jews on the outer environs of Eretz Yisrael, 15 days before Shavuos, and maybe for the Jews of Chutz La'aretz, 15 days before Sukkot. Amrlei Amad Beis. Amrlei, no. Kula ke'achasiba. But say, in fact, it's not true. All money was collected at once. In other words, all money had to be in on the 15th of Nisan. The Lama Amru B'Shlosha Prakim Kadei Lasos Pumbi Ladavar. So we'll say this is actually pretty incredible. If you look at particularly in Chadatin, take a look. Left-hand side of both sides of the page. Kulan Ka'achas Kolomar Kolashkalim Hayutzrichin Lahavi Mikalam Akom Supam Achos Tahainu Be'echa B'Nisan B'chtei Shiukalulim Kulam Belishka. The Chavan Tziril in Terminala Asil Ligbo Sasarachok. So let's listen to this. As we're going to see, all of the money there was one collection time. All money had to be in by the 1st of Nisan. That's the way it worked. Right? There was one donation deadline, 1st of Nisan. However, this is actually quite interesting. They did withdraw money at 3 intervals. So listen to this. What they did is, there was a big withdrawal 2 weeks before each regal. Now, why would they do that, Rabbosai? So the Gemara says, Lasos pumbi ladavar. Pumbi means to make it a public spectacle. Look at the Tiklin Chadatin again. This is quite beautiful. Kadei lasos pumbi, kadei lasos pirsum ladavar. Devade einachiv litrom begimel zmanim halalu. Ela benisan utarmin alko chachi ashana. For aponon hu dechilku legimel zman mishum degimel zmanim halalu havizman kihila lekol Yisrael lalos l'regal. Lekach ha yutarmin bezmanim halalu leman yedu kulam. Sheyesh lekol echad miyiso chelek bechal karbanos sibor shemakrivim bechal yom v'yom. Rabbi said this is so beautiful. The halacha was as follows: all sacrificial money, right? New sacrificial money had to be in when? First of Nisan. And the truth is, really, what you could do is withdraw all the monies that it comes in, it comes out, right? That's the easiest way to deal with this. So what Chazal instituted, everyone said this is quite beautiful, was to make a withdrawal 2 weeks before each regal. And as we're going to see, I will say it's really quite beautiful. The withdrawal was a pretty public spectacle. Now, I will say, why did they do that? Why did they do withdrawal in a public way? Because I will say, remember again, the whole point of the public spectacle of the withdrawal was to show every single Jew that each and every one of us has a chilik in the karbanos sibor. So I will say, understand something amazing. When you, with your little half shekel, what you are doing is you are buying into every single one of the communal offerings. It's not just the pshat that you only have a half shekel stake in the karban. That half shekel buys you a chelik into every single communal offering. So I will say, so can you imagine the feeling when they withdrew the money, and you were there, I will say, imagine where it'll happen for us in Yeretz Hashem B'Karov. You're standing in Yerushalayim, it's the days before Pesach, you see them, when we'll talk about how they would withdraw the money, and you see the half shekel, and you know that it's quite possible that your half shekel is in there. So the hergish, the feeling that it gave to the Jews who were assembled, which, and this is Aliyah L'Regos, a lot of people are there. So that's mine. I have a chelik in this. See, I will say, Chazal understood that it is so important for people to feel vested in something. It is so important for people to feel vested in the Beis HaMikdash, to feel vested in Karbanos Tzibor. So they dafka wanted to make the withdrawal in a public way where everybody would be around. So incredible. So we'll say back to the Gemara. We'll say, I just want to point out also, you'll notice, hopefully by now, that the Perush of the Tiklin Chadatin is a very thorough Perush. Right, you've seen that. If you notice again, it's not that it's verbose, but it's a very thorough page. So I urge you, as you're doing your chazara, because the truth is, Shekalim is a great masechta to do your chazara, but it's a short masechta. We're going to be finished with this. How long is this? Only 22 blot. So we'll say, so again, we're going to go through it so quickly in Yeretz Hashem, but again, you'll see the Tikkun Charatin is a very powerful tool for chazara. So he goes on, he says this, the Gemara says as follows. So Rabbi Yehuda ben Pazi b'shem Rabbi hein nikra v'lo nivas. So we'll say again, so the Gemara. So we'll say, so okay, new topic now. A little bit of agarata. So we're going to see also in Shekalim, we're going to get some beautiful agarata. So we'll say Rabbi Yehuda ben Pazi saying Rabbi hein nikra v'lo nivas. Can we read these psukim without being fearful? Without shaking with fear. Now, both say, what's the fear? So listen to this. So both say, L'tova. So the Gemara is going to do an incredible contrast, the study in contrast. L'tova. So both say, when there was a collection for good things amongst Klali, so what did the pasuk say? Kol nediv leiv. Right, so also when Moishe Rabbeinu collected for the Mishkan, what did the pasuk say? Kol nediv leiv. Any person was generous of heart, gave to the Mishkan. Lara, when it came to the collection for the Egel, what happened? Vayisparku kol ha'am. Everyone gave. So we'll say, tragic comparison. For the Mishkan, those who are generous of spirit, which tells us what? Is that everyone? The Pashas, no. The Pashas, if it was everyone, then it wouldn't say generous spirit, it just said everyone. The fact that it says Kol Nediv Leib means people who are generous gave, but not everybody gave. Yet when it came to the Ego Rachmon al-Islan, everyone gave. Litova, Vayotze Moshe Sa'am. So we'll say again, when it came to something good, by Matan Torah, the pasuk says Moshe Rabbeinu took out the nation, which indicates to us that ultimately the nation had to be led out by Moshe for Kabbalah Satorah. Yet again, Lara Vatikravon Elai Kulchem. Yet I will say by the Meraglim, Moshe Rabbeinu says, all of you came to me. So we'll say it's a little bit of a shtickle indictment, right? So again, we see over here, Latova, right? Moshe Rabbeinu had to lead the people out, yet for the Meraglim, the people came to Moshe. Latova, Az Yashir Moshe V'nei Yisrael. So again, when it comes for something good, by Az Yashir, Moshe Rabbeinu led the people in Shira. L'Ra'ah, Batisa Kala Eda. Yet also when it came to something negative, ultimately again, they're crying once again over the Chet HaMeraglim. Everyone cried on their own. They cried out. Right? They cried out on their own without being led. Amr B'chia Bar Abba, Achin Hishkimu Hishchisu. V'chol hashchasa shayosin bashkama hayu osin. Shabbos Rabbi Silber Abba laments something else. He says, in general, there's the concept of zrizos, right? But zrizos is supposed to be used for positive things. Yet, unfortunately, every single time we see Klal Yisrael having done something wrong, it was always done bahashkama. It was always done with a sense of zrizos as well. So, unfortunately, we corrupted the very concept of zrizos as well. Rabbi Abba Bar Acha, Ein at yochol la'amod al ufya shel umazu. We'll say this is an incredibly profound statement. Rabbi Abba says, it is impossible for anyone to figure out Klal Yisrael. Right? Impossible to figure us out. Why? Nitba'in la'egel nosnin. When we're asked for money for the Chet HaEgel, we give. Nitba'in la'mishkan nosnin. When we're asked for money for the Mishkan, we give. So Rabbi says, it's impossible to figure us out. Jews, it's impossible to figure us out, right? Because on one hand, right, we're asked to give to the Egel, we give generously. We're asked to give to the Mishkan, we give generously. So Rabbi say, it's not so difficult to figure us out. We are a passionate people who possess an incredible, really unimaginable amount of koach. And we saw this in Sidkas HaTzadik, that in reality, there is no midah that is bad and there is no midah that is good. Midos are energy. And energy is only as good or as bad as the way it is channeled and conducted. So therefore, again, you want to understand Klal Yisrael, we are a people of immense energy, immense potential, immense koach, which is why when we do good, no one could match our good. And when we do bad, no one could match our bad. Rabbi say, and that's the tension of the Gemara. Rabbi say, and this is incredibly important for us. And Rabbi Silber writes about this extensively in Al Tshuva. He writes this idea that sometimes when we commit terrible averos, so we think that we are beyond repair. We think we are beyond salvation, right? Sometimes we think that when I really mess up, that's it. I'm down and out. There is no salvation for me. And the Rav says, Fakir, it's just the opposite. The greater the avera, the greater the koach for tshuva. Why? It makes perfect sense. Because we both say, what's an avera? An avera is misused energy. So the more profound and the more terrible the avera, that means the more koach went into it. Well, the more koach that went into the avera, that means the more koach I have at my disposal. Which means all I need to do is rechannel that koach. So as great as the avera was, is only a mirror to how great the tshuva can be as well. So Rabbi Abba says it kind of a little bit, what's the word? When you don't want an answer to your question? Rhetorically, right? When he says, no one can understand this ummah, it's not true. It's not true. You can figure out Klal Yisrael incredibly easily. We're very easy to figure out. We are a people of immense koach. Just our challenge is sometimes using that koach in the right direction. And Rabbi say, again, on a personal level as well, when we fail, we so often on a personal level give up on ourselves. Never give up on yourself. Because the more profound the failure, all that shows is the more koach you possess. And if I could just rechannel that in a different direction, there is no telling what I could accomplish. Weiter. Tana. Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina. Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina says as follows. Hadam asnisa, so va'asisa kapore zavtar. So listen to this. So we'll say along these same lines. Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina says, you have to make a kaporis, a lid of the aron out of gold. Yavo zav shal kaporis, v'yichapra zav shal egel. Let the gold of the kapores, the gold of the lid of the aron, come and atone for the gold of the egel. We misused gold in using it to construct the golden calf. Now we're going to go ahead and redeem the gold by going ahead and using for the cross. So think about this incredible yisod. You might have thought once you go ahead and you use gold for the egel, gold is treif. To which the Gemara says, no, gold's not treif. You just misused it. So now what's tshuva, Rabbosai? Tshuva is taking the very thing you misused and now repurposing it and using it in a constructive way. That's tshuva. Rabbosai, that's what we just said before. You take the very davar that you used, the very thing you used for the Ma'isa Aveira, and now you redeem it and lift it up, ultimately, again, for using it for something heilig. So the Gemara goes right there. Reb Chagai v'shem. Reb Shmuel bar Nachman, shalosh trumos nemar parshazos. There are 3 different trumas. For Rabbi said 3 different collections that were said by the Mishkan. What are the 3 different collections? Listen to this, is great. Trumas Adonim, Trumas Shekalim, and Trumas HaMishkan. So both say, literally, there's a truma for Adonim. Now, Adonim literally means sockets. They're both say, for the Mishkan, we know, the Mishkan, right, the walls of the Mishkan were made of Atzei Shitim, the cedar wood, right? So both remember again, where did the Atzei Shitim come from? Where did it come from? Yaakov Avinu, right? Yaakov brought the acacia wood. Yaakov brought the Atzei Shitim with him down to Mitzrayim. They took that with them when they left Egypt. So we'll say, the Atzei Shitim, what did the planks sit in? So the bottom of the planks were actually carved out to form, I guess what you would call it, like pegs, protrusions. Those protrusions were inserted into silver sockets. So when the Gemara talks about over here, Trumas Adonim, or Truma for the sockets, literally the sockets were the silver sockets. But as we're going to see, the Trumas Adonim actually covered more than just those sockets. We'll discuss this in just a moment. Well, we'll discuss it tomorrow. U'Trumas Shekalim, then there was the Truma for the Machzah Shekel, U'Trumas HaMishkan. And then there was the general Truma, the general collection for the Mishkan itself. So the Gemara says, here we go, Dabra b'nei Yisrael v'yikhuli truma. When the pasuk says, speak to the Jewish, you will take from me truma. Zu trumas adonim. So we'll say that pasuk refers to the truma of the sockets, the collection for the sockets. Me'ez kolish asher yidvenu libo tichwas trumasi. From every person whose heart propels him to give generously. What does that refer to? Zu trumas shkalim. That refers to the machzas shekel. This is the truma you shall take for them. Zu trumas hamishkan. Rabbi say this refers to the truma to actually build the mishkan itself. So Rabbi say the Gemara suggests that there are 3 collections: truma sadonim, truma for the sockets, which we'll discuss what that covers. Machzis hashekel, which bepashtos was used for what? For what? Karbanos, communal karbanos. And number 3, another truma, another collection to build the actual Mishkan itself. Also, I'll just point out, this is very important. I'll say this symbolism is very much alive and well today. Because remember, when we do the Zecher LeMachzis HaShekel on Tainis Esther, how many Machzis HaShekels do we take? Right? 3. The meaning is to take 3, to lift up $3.50. Why? Corresponding to the 3 collections that were done for the Mishkan. Trumas HaAdonim, Machzis HaShekel, Trumas HaMishkan. So here we go. Trumas HaMishkan, the Mishkan. So we'll say the Trumas HaMishkan was for the Mishkan. Mashi Yirtzu Yasu. So we'll say, interestingly enough, for the Truma, for the collection for the Mishkan, whatever you wanted to give, you gave. Right? There was no minimum or maximum for that. Whatever you want to give, this was for the general creation of the Mishkan. Whatever you want to give, you give. Truma Shkalim, the Karban. When it came to the Machzah Shekel for the Karban, for Karbanos Sibur, this is actually interesting. Mashi Yirtzu Yasu, Kadeshe Yad Kulon Shavah. So this is very interesting. For the Machzah Shekel for Karbanos, interestingly enough, it sounds like you could give whatever you want, as long as everyone gives equally. We're going to see what this means is, you can go ahead, Chazal of the particular generation could establish whatever type of coin you are supposed to give. Right? However, it must be uniform. So as we're going to see, there were times historically where they actually gave more than a machzah shekel. They gave more than a half shekel amount. But the idea was it was a uniform amount that everyone gave. Trumas adonim la'adonim. When it came for the trumas adonim, that was for the sockets. Ha'ashir lo yarbe v'adal lo yamit. So we'll say again, it seems to be over there that there was a uniform amount that was given as well. Amar Rabbi Abban af beparsha azos ne'amar ba gimel trumas. There are gimel trumas that are said ultimately in the pasuk itself. Machzis hashekel truma la'Hashem. I'm sorry. Ne'amar ba gimel trumas. Machzis hashekel truma la'Hashem. Yitin trumas Hashem. Lo says trumas Hashem. So we'll say the word truma itself is mentioned 3 times throughout the parsha. So we'll stop over for today. We'll pick up in Meretz Hashem at the 2 dots. Continuing again, but we'll say at least we emerged now 3 different collections. It turns out there wasn't just one collection of Machzah Shekel. There was a Machzah Shekel collection, a Trumas HaAdonim collection, and a Trumas HaMishkan collection. Details to follow. Shkarach Avosai.
Rabbi, this is for your family. Thank you. And Hashem will see you around.
Yes, Hashem. Have a wonderful trip. Enjoy.